And the thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online.
Google it
They
yourself.
spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so...
What I'm saying is Jesus wrote a dinosaur to work. That's history. It's in the Bible. How to Train Your Dragon.
Historical facts.
And if you don't believe it, do your own research. Pull up Google. You'll find the picture, I promise.
Oh my God.
Thank you, John Gleason, Godless engineer, for gifting me this beautiful moment. Y'all remember when they tried to cancel Steven Spielberg for posing with an animatronic triceratops animal rights activist?
Back it up.
Hit it from the back.
Cloaca. Historical facts.
Eat my ass, BP. You're down here bailing on the rest of us because you don't want to process your grief and shame like a normal person by drinking and mistreating strangers.
No, Rick. It is you who must nibble my cloaca, or bird asshole.
Everyone knows what a cloaca is.
Back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so...
Paul Bunyan was sharing some Funyuns with his pet velociraptor.
Whoa.
Oh, you thought it was an ox? Roll back the clock. Let me knock the socks off. Historical facts.
I didn't cut out. You heard me. Are you a pervert or something? Okay.
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? Sorry, I was totally not looking at the camera because I was like double checking my mic. Let me get this shit. Didn't get it all set up. I was distracted before everything. All right, here we go. What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at an atheist to Christian conversion story. This atheist, he had been an atheist, I guess, all of his life, which seemed to have been about 8 years, and then he became a Christian. So we're going to be taking a look at why he became Christian, what convinced him to become Christian, because honestly, I don't really care if anybody is a Christian or isn't a Christian, is an atheist, isn't an atheist. I really don't care what particular faith or non-faith you're currently adhered to. So what I am curious about, though, is what convinces people. Like, what convinces people to start believing in a God, start believing in Jesus specifically. So we're going to find out tonight what this guy's reason for becoming a Christian actually is. That's what I'm really kind of concerned about. So if you heathens want to fuck around and find out why you too might want to become Christian, then please stay tuned. Right after I stop fucking around. Booyah! Okay. All right. So, as you guys know, any of the proceeds that we make off of the channel here, in a month, we normally put towards a charity of some kind. I believe sometime around this year, we donated to maybe the Michael J. Fox Foundation or something like that. I'm not sure. We're going to be letting you guys know exactly.
Hey, y'all know what? Anytime is a good time for a beer.
Huh? We're going to be letting you guys know where we're going to be donating to this month, but just know that we vet all of the charities that we donate to, and we're definitely going to pick a good one for the month of February. So if you want to help us out, consider doing a super chat like Satan's Little Helper, or you can become a member on the channel here by hitting that join button, or you can just go to joinskepticmafia.com and it will take you directly to the sign up page. Both of those ways help. Another way that you can help is by watching our videos and sharing them with people, especially the last video that we did, because it's suffering a lot. I don't know what is going on with YouTube, or people just don't like me shit talking Tim O'Neill, but that one's not doing that great. But if y'all could share that out, that would be awesome. It would help us donate to charity, and you would also help the channel grow. So with all that out of the way, we do have a full show tonight. Well, I say full. The video is kind of light. I'm not going to have too much to say about it, but we'll just have to see when we get there. But before we get to the response video, we do have some Today I Learned to go over. We've got some comments. Brocephus managed to stay sober enough to do a little shitty ass science that's quite floofy, I guess. And then we're going to get to the response video. So if you guys are ready, I'm ready to get on into these Today I Learned. As soon as I find my... There it is. I got it. Oh, pull it out of the depths of hell. All right. Are you guys ready? Honey, are you ready? I'm ready. Yeah? All right, here we go. Today I learned. Woo-hoo-hoo! Wish I could do the Chewbacca thing, considering my beanie tonight. Oh, no. I knew how that was going to turn out, and I still did it. I can't do the Chewbacca thing. Interestingly enough, I also can't roll my R's. So there's that. Oh no, I just hid like everything. See, no, okay, most things are still there. Okay, here we go. First up on Today I Learned that less than 1% of nuns in the U.S. are under 40 years old, and the average sister is 80 years old. How long till you think nuns are phased out? You think nuns will ever phase out? Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, how many people like grow up and it's like, I want to go to a nunnery. I want to become a nun. I feel like that there's, would it be fewer and fewer people every year are like, I want to be a nun. Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, I definitely think that the nuns are going to be going out of style soon, or at least out of popular anything. So first up tonight, we've got Satan's Little Helper, who says, I love the beanie. Thank you so much there, Satan's Little Helper. Appreciate you. All right. Next up on Today, I learned that an anonymous Middle Eastern prince donated $500,000 for Hurricane Sandy relief in exchange for a 15-minute meeting with actress Kristen Stewart. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if maybe I've done this one before, because that's just fucking creepy. Like I get it. I would have a lot if I was in this position. I don't expect myself to ever be in this kind of position, but if I were in this position, I'd have a lot of stipulations on it. Like, you've got to sit, at least 5 feet away, 6 feet away the entire time. Don't look me in the eyes or some shit like that. And it's so weird to do this, to flaunt your wealth in this kind of way. Although, I mean, that Hurricane Sandy relief, yeah, that's great, $500,000. But I mean, still, it's like, I'll give you $500,000 for 15 minutes with Kristen Stewart. It's so fucking weird. Oh, you're fine. Finally, on Today I Learned, we have Warren Buffett bought Berkshire Hathaway purely out of spite. In the 1960s, it was a failing textiles company which he wanted to sell his stake in. When its president lowballed him, he bought the whole company just to fire him. In 2010, he said it was the biggest investment mistake he ever made. I mean, I don't think Warren Buffett's doing bad right now, you know? I mean, wasn't Warren Buffett like who the Treasury Department consulted about when the banks nearly failed in 2008? I think he's okay. I think he's might have been a really bad investment, but he seems to have bounced back from it. All right, well, that's going to be it for the Today I Learned section. Really quick, little pieces, nuggets of information in case you're ever on Jeopardy or something like that. I don't know when any of these things would ever be on Jeopardy. Because imagine the $500,000 guy donating to Hurricane Sandy. Like the thing plays up there, and you got to answer it with, "Who is the creepy fuck that wanted to purchase time with Kristen Stewart?" So I don't think it's going to help you Jeopardy wise, but it could make nice for small talk or something. I don't know. I'm sure people appreciate it in my own head. Next up, though, we've got... You know what we've got next? If you said comments of the day, you are correct! Comments of the day! Prepare to facepalm yourself into next week! Huh? Well, if it's out of tune, that means that it's in tune, if you know what I mean. Perfect. It's perfect. I don't know what you're talking about. We got a new member!
We got a new member!
Got it twice. All right, so tonight's comment section is provided to you by the people that have commented on my last few mythicists videos. Mostly from the Tim O'Neill video. There were some interesting comments there, and then there were some comments on other things. So anyways, this first one is Joseph Rodriguez, who says, "There's nothing that prove the biblical Jesus existed." And I wanted to bring this up, not because I necessarily disagree with it, but I just wanted to highlight how flimsy the evidence is in general for either position. Because I feel like the strongest case can be made for, agnosticism on the topic. Being that we just don't have enough information, and we probably never will have enough information in order to be able to securely establish whether or not he existed. And I think that that's probably the strongest position, like an agnostic position. But at the same time, I also hold to the position that I think the evidence leans more towards mythicism. And all that ultimately relies on Paul's evidence, like the few vague verses. I feel like they're strongly vague, but I do believe that there's enough evidence to push them over to the side of like a non-historical figure. And so that's kind of where I stand on it. I wouldn't go as far as to say there's nothing that proves the biblical Jesus existed. Although, if you wanted to be specific about biblical part, there is nothing that proves the magical version of Jesus existed. I guess I was thinking more on the minimal historicist view of Jesus. I think that, the best evidence that they have is in Paul, like the vague passages in Paul. But as far as the magical or biblical, if that's what you mean by biblical Jesus, there's definitely nothing that proves magic exists right now. So I guess I would ultimately agree with that. I was thinking more minimal historicist when I initially read this. That's okay. Road from Damascus says, ironic how the harshest critics of the mythicist hypothesis, Ehrman, O'Neill, Litwa, etc., cannot help but betray the fact that they have not actually read the works of the leading mythicist proponents. And I just wanted to highlight this because, yeah, definitely. One of those TikTok videos where they're just like, yeah, this fucking guy right here. Like one of those kind of things. Because it seems to me like everybody that is vehemently against the mythicist hypothesis can't actually recite what it is. And they don't know what is contained in the large work, two of the large works, because I've got both of them over here. This is Questioning the Historicity of Jesus by Raphael Lataster, who argues for, sorry, y'all probably couldn't hear me, who argues for an agnostic position on it. And then, of course, there's Carrier's book that argues for a full-on mythicist version using Bayes' theorem. But in any case, they haven't read. You can always know that they haven't read it because they'll either say that like, oh, Carrier says this when it's not really Carrier that says it. It's Ehrman that says it. It's just really weird. Yeah, how is that book? I've got to fix my little my message pop up thing here. Drew is asking, how is that book that you just showed us? So this book is not exactly all that accessible for most people because it's like what, $200? Stupid expensive. Okay, so that's for one thing. This is Yeah, this is a used copy and it was like $200. This is a college textbook is what it is. It's from Brill, which is one of the best academic publishers out there. So it's definitely went through hella peer review. Well, it's pretty good. Raphael Lataster spends a good portion of the front of the book analyzing Bart Ehrman. So if you're looking for an analysis of Bart Ehrman and his work from somebody that's outside of the mythicist, I guess, community, or at least coming at the issue from as non-biased as possible point of view, Raphael Lataster's pretty good. His book's pretty good. He really rakes Ehrman over the coals for like relying so much on the Q documents or the L documents or the M documents, which are hypothetical documents that people have just sort of ad hoc presumed to exist. And then they proceed to state what's in them, even though we don't actually have, any whatever's, we don't have any physical copies to know what was in them. These are just proposed things. Huh? Or if they existed at all. That's right, honey. So like nowhere else in history do we rely on fabricated evidence like that. So, anyways, I just wanted to sort of highlight this because that's an important thing to kind of note. Here's Andre Nawali. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, because fuck me. But anyways, Andre says, "Good and informative video, Godless Engineer. Thank you for your work. I think one issue still needs to be stressed discussing the Galatians passage." Sorry, we got Rainbow Krampus with a super chat.
Maybe you should quit drinking all that beer, GE.
Maybe I should. Who fucking knows? Let's see. Rainbow Krampus says there's an even shorter of On the History of Jesus out now. What is their excuse? I read Jesus from Outer Space in 2 days. That's a good point, and I do have Jesus from Outer Space, I think right over here. Booyah!
Maybe you should quit drinking all that beer, GE.
Fuck yeah, I should just stop drinking all that beer. Jesus from Outer Space. It's got a lot of yellow in it, so it looks a little translucent right now. But this is a really good book, as you can tell. Not all that thick. It's pretty short. It does contain some unique material that's not in OHJ. So it's definitely well worth the read. We got Daniel M. who says, David says good night. His birthday was Wednesday. He's 6 now. Oh, shit. You know what we got to do? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to David. Happy birthday to you. You're 6 years old. In case you forgot. Oh, did I? Oh, I totally forgot about singing to him last week. Anyways, I made sure I got it in there. Okay, so I think one issue still needs to be stressed discussing the Galatians passage. Although I think Fitzgerald correctly stresses that the term Paul uses regarding Jesus' alleged birth is used also about Adam being created, not born, and resurrected bodies. He says redirected, but it's resurrected bodies. The context still points out to an actual birth. When it comes to Jesus, otherwise, why would he use a spin on the phrase, born of a woman? Well, okay, so to answer this first part right here, he's probably putting a spin on that phrase because he was using it in an allegory. He was speaking allegorical. The woman that he's talking about Jesus being born of or created from are these allegorical mothers. So you have the allegorical mother of Hagar, who represents being born into bondage and slavery of the laws of Moses. And then you have Sarai, who is the mother of this, Jesus, who promises this everlasting life and all this other stuff. The entire section is about how Jesus' sacrifice actually provides salvation for you. Because there's one body that's born, into this bondage of the laws of Moses, and then Jesus's body is not born into that bondage. He was divinely created, just like our future resurrection bodies are going to be divinely created. Right now, we're in these, quote unquote, dirty, horrible, born into slavery and bondage bodies. And then we're going to get these new bodies that are similar to Jesus's body in the future. In fact, I don't know if you guys know this, but come here close. Everybody that's a Christian already has divinely created bodies stored in warehouses in heaven. It's in the Bible. Yep. It's in the Bible. Check it out. Look for it. It's up there. I could provide a direct citation, but I forgot to look it up. But it's in there. Corinthians something or another, fuck Paul. Paul the Apostle, not Apologia. But in any case, that's the reason why he's putting a spin on the phrase, because he's using it in an allegory. The fact that he is directly changing the phrase, like as it's stated in the Old Testament and in Jewish culture in general, it is emphasizing something, but I think that more likely, considering how he uses the words that he uses, it's more meant to emphasize how he was divinely created rather than human birthed. So I feel like this first part of his comment here shows to me that literally nothing will persuade him otherwise, because all of this stuff I calmly explained in the video that he's commenting on. And so I feel like either they just disagree with my analysis of it, which it doesn't seem necessarily like he thinks that, but it's either he disagrees with my analysis of it, or he just listened to it and just immediately disregarded it without even considering it. And so he's still stuck on must be born of a woman, like must have had a physical birth. Drew's Book Reviews used his member chat. which I can't put up on the screen. But he says, oh, do we get to choose from the warehouse, or are we just given a body? I would like to see my options. Do I get more choice if I am more holy? In fact, I do believe the bodies up in heaven kind of work like Cyberpunk 2077 when you go to create your character. You have a set number of faces and you can choose how big your dick is. So I feel like you can do some kind of like options there. Like me, I'd say fix the pancreas, remove all this fat shit from around my waist and everywhere on my body, and just a big dick. You know, give me a big one. I want to be a shower. Anyways, yeah, that was kind of weird. I'm actually going to save a little vertical video of that. So there we go. All right. Continuing on. In my opinion, Paul wants to show that Jesus was an earthly being brought to this world by a woman.
We got a new member.
Less Than Lucid was gifted a membership.
We got a new member.
Spectre 2688 gifted a membership to Less Than Lucid. And then Vanta Blue sent in a super chat saying, I want to be a shower. GE 2023. Oh, shower. I totally read that wrong. I want to be a shower.
I want to be a shower.
Let's see. In my opinion, Paul wants to show both that Jesus was an earthly being brought to this world by a woman. He was in fact created by God himself. It was therefore a birth unlike other regular births, but a birth nonetheless. Matthew takes a similar approach and uses similar vocabulary about Jesus' birth. Well, I mean, both Matthew and Luke have magical births, but this is not talking about a magical birth. Well, if Paul was talking about like a real normal birth, he would choose the word that he normally uses for other births, meaning that he was, meaning genao is the Greek word that he would use in order to indicate a natural birth, because that's the word he uses everywhere else in his epistles. So, I feel like this is a lot of, like, I want to say special pleading to get it to mean both divinely manufactured body and earthly birth, when that's just not how Paul uses words. What?
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at I want to be a shower.
I want to be a shower. Fuck me. Me and my dumb ass. I've been playing Wordle too much, because I do that on Wordle too. I'll run through all the letters, but I'll say them in fucked up ways so that I miss the right one. So this particular comment comes from a clip from the Line Show, where David Fitzgerald and I were taking callers, and this caller Kai called in with some questions. Steve says, Kai is absolutely ignorant of actual facts. Nazareth didn't exist in the 1st century CE. There is also not a single shred of hard facts and evidence that Jesus ever existed. So, as far as the first part of this sentence, while there is some discussion on whether or not Nazareth existed in the 1st century, the mythicist hypothesis does not hinge on that. Like, that's not a part of the hypothesis, because whether or not Nazareth existed, you could still just make shit up about somebody coming from Nazareth, or make shit up about, later on when it did exist, make shit up about Nazareth existing and Jesus coming from it, or whatever in the fuck. So it's not all that important to the mythicist hypothesis. I wouldn't suggest using it if you're in any kind of conversation or anything like that. So that's my suggestion. And then there's also not a single shred of hard facts and evidence that Jesus ever existed. Technically, this is true. It would be hard to have hard facts and evidence for most people in ancient history. But, you know, a lot of times people compare Jesus to like emperors and stuff who had coins minted and everything. And I mean, that's a good way to know that a person existed, but we wouldn't expect that of Jesus. Like the minimal historicist idea of Jesus, we wouldn't expect coins or anything like that. What we would expect are people writing about this Jesus person, or this Jesus person showing up in other writers that were writing about religions at the time. Like Josephus writes about a number of failed Jewish prophets because, you know, he was writing much later than Jesus supposedly lived in. Jesus should have shown up in Josephus's writings, but the only two references that we find in Josephus's writings is quickly becoming established that those are later insertions into the text. And so those aren't reliable. And I've heard plenty of historicists say I don't even rely on those anymore because of how dubious they are. So we're not expecting hard. This is just, what are the expectations? We're not expecting hard evidences, as in like a plaque that was carved in Jesus's name, or you know, coins minted with Jesus's face on them, or anything like that. We do expect textual evidence to be around, and it's quite curious that we have history books written by ancient historians that are supposed to cover the time period that Jesus was supposed to exist in, but because they were maintained by Christian churches later on down the road, we have these very expertly cut out sections. Like there's no reason why these sections should be gone other than they cover the exact time period in which Jesus should appear in, but he doesn't. Would be a good explanation for why they're just not there. Like, why would they preserve all the rest of this collection of books, but not preserve this one sliver of a time period right in the middle of a book? Why would that be gone? Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, yeah. Unsolicited advice from GE. Huh? You'll take my advice? Okay, so Gary's proposing here a conversation between a mythicist and apparently just everybody else, okay? So we've got mythicist. Everyone else is wrong and we're right. Everyone else. Why are you right, mythicists? Our earliest sources revealed through visions and revelations. Everyone else, shake my head. What? So I immediately stopped right here because everyone else saying what? Everybody knows what's being talked about here. Everybody knows that the earliest sources for Jesus is Paul's visions and hallucinations or revelations or scripture. If you're wondering what I'm drinking tonight, it's you can't really see it, but it's a Sonic the Hedgehog G Fuel that I got this morning, and it's peach rings, and it's just delicious. That is really good. Mm-hmm. It's delicious. Peach rings. If you find it, get it. Anyways, so everybody knows what's being talked about here. Everybody knows about Paul, his visions, and how he only claims sources. But anyways, and it's not our evidence, it's not the evidence that we have that Jesus didn't exist or something like that. This is supposed evidence that historicists have that prove that Jesus existed. That Paul attests to this person, or Paul references this person as a historical person. So just getting that out of the way. Mythicist. Paul is only visions and revelations, no historical Jesus. Everyone. Head starts hurting. What about all the times Paul places Jesus on earth? What times that Paul places Jesus on earth? He never places Jesus in a conversation on earth. Every time Paul relates or relays a conversation about Jesus, it's always in a vision. Mythicists, visions and revelations, all myth. Well, all myth. No mythicist would say that. So it would be all, like, as far as Paul goes, all visions and revelations. We wouldn't say that Paul believed in a myth or anything like that. We feel that Paul sincerely believed in this Jesus figure, in this Jesus angel. So it wasn't myth. Everyone else, last ditch effort. So where are the early traditions of myth or the arguments against mythicism from early church fathers? Jewish, sir, pagan sources. There are remnants of early, like, Docetists being responded to, or early people that only consider Jesus to be a celestial figure, and we find that in, like, I believe it's 2 Peter, the first chapter, 2 Peter 1, like 10 or 17 or something like that. It talks about how they overly stress the fact that they don't believe in cleverly devised myths. And so this would have been written, like, 2nd century sometime. And so not by Peter, by the way. So there obviously were people that were talking about, or at least believing in, a purely celestial Jesus. And so, I mean, there's that. There's also, you've got Justin Martyr. Is he the one that wrote Dialogue with Trypho? I believe that was Justin Martyr. In that particular work, it has Justin and Trypho talking about how Jesus resembles other deities, like in Greek mythology, and how Jesus is no different than them. So if Jesus is no different than them, then and those deities never existed either, those saviors like Hercules and shit never existed either, then I don't understand why they would think that Justin would consider Jesus to be this historical figure that's just like all of the Greek mythological deities and saviors. So there's that. Mythicists. The church distorted the evidence. Well, this is plainly out of context, but if we're talking about why certain works have missing time frames, or are missing material, or have material changed, the church distorted the evidence. Like, you've got Eusebius of Caesarea, either him or his precursor, who changed Josephus. I mean, we don't know who edited the other stuff where we find missing pieces of time, but obviously, because the church had control of all these documents, that's where we, that is the only person that could have had a hand in it, either directly removing the pieces or by not preserving them. Either way.
Just a little bit of money.
Drew's Book Review says, can make GE speak Klingon. That was perfect. Perfect Klingon right there. Duolingo. Yeah. Okay, everyone else, why would they record all the heresies they do and not include that one? It seems like a biggie. Actually, the church didn't record all the heresies. I mean, they record some, but what they preserve are the responses to the heresies. And so the only way that we know about these quote-unquote heresies, or at least some of these heresies, is by quotations by church fathers who are responding to the heresies. Like, the one right on the top of my head right now is when Origen responded to Celsus. We don't have Celsus's work. That's been lost to time. Where it was either lost to time or it was destroyed by the church or something like that. Either way, it's lost to us, right? And so we just don't have it. We only have references to it. So that's what that's talking about. This is random speculation going back to the church destroying evidence. Okay. It's not random speculation because we actually have the evidence to support those claims. This plays no, like, this is only mythicists like complaining about how weak the evidence is and how we should have stronger evidence. Like, this does not factor into the mythicist hypothesis. Like, the fact that we don't have these records plays no bearing on the outcome of the mythicist hypothesis or the likelihood of it, other than the fact that if we had them, we would have better information about this time period. But it's because that we don't that the evidence is in such disarray that it is. So it actually has no bearing on the mythicist hypothesis. Everyone else, I'm done here. You're obviously way too dug into your dogma to consider other evidence. Good luck to you in your failing hypothesis. In fact, since 2014, the number of scholarly mythicists have grown, and it continues to grow. And the number of claims made by mythicists, which are common in other areas of New Testament scholarship, they are also gaining traction. So it's not just the mythicists. Mythicists shit talks you to re-engage with them. Everyone else not responding to ad homs because that's not how debates work. I'm sorry. We're like well, I'm not going to speak for all mythicists. I know at least I and the people that I hang around with, we're not the ones throwing shit at the other side. Okay. It's the other side, the historicist side, quote unquote, everyone else in this particular situation that keeps throwing shit our direction unnecessarily, by the way. Rainbow Krampus has another super chat there. Funny thing is, I recently spent 3 days getting harassed across atheist YouTube.
To Timothy, what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
Atheist YouTube by historicists. Also, insults are not ad homs. That's true. Ad homs would be like, oh, you can't, you can't fill your car up with gasoline. Nobody should trust you with anything. Actually, that one might be true. Like just saying that. What? No. In my head, I was thinking about that woman who was like fake trying to get the gasoline nozzle into her tank, and she goes, spits on it, jerks it off, and then slides it in. Nobody should trust her. That was my conclusion too. Yeah. Anyways, if you just simply insult somebody, that it's not an ad hom. But if you insult them and say nobody should trust you or believe what you say because of this random insult, like that's the reason why, then that's an ad hom. So, anyways, all right, that was a long one. We just got a couple more here to get through so we can get to Brocephus. I know he's getting his fucking alcohol ready to get drunk. So here's Andre again, who says, question to mythicists. What figures you compare Jesus to have texts composed around 30 years after their alleged death claiming that they were historical? Well, so the most notable one is Alexander the Great. The best biography written about him was actually written like 500 years after his death. And the reason why it's the best biography is because there's extensive discussion on the sources that were used, why they were the best sources, even naming the sources that were used. And like, I think it was two of Alexander the Great's generals were used as sources. And, there was just this long discussion on why these guys were the best ones to relay information about Alexander the Great. So there's that, and then you've got Jesus, who has Gospels written about him, and then Paul is talking about hallucinations that he had after he ate funny mushrooms or something. So, I mean, just, compare the evidence there and see how you feel about it. Finally, another one from Andre, who apparently has an affinity for shit talking in my comment section, who says, claiming that mythicism is a conspiracy theory is poisoning the well? Yes, it's poisoning the well because it's not actually considering the mythicist claim. Now, if you were talking about mythicism prior to, like, say, 2012 or 2014, that time frame, sure, most of the mythicist ideas at the time were conspiratorial. But since 2014, and even before that, really, in about 2012 or so, you had this new minimal mythicist hypothesis starting to come out. Minimal mythicist hypothesis is the only scholarly hypothesis out there. It relies on scholarship of other New Testament scholars, other historians, and it makes its case using evidence. So that's why it's poisoning the well to claim that mythicism is a conspiracy theory, because we're 10 years out. Like, we're after 2012 at least. We're more than 10 years out, 11 years out from that. So it just makes no sense for you to act like it's a conspiracy theory still. Okay. Okay, then what evidence do we have for a belief in a purely mythical Jesus in Christianity at all? Well, the Gospels are no help to us because they're written much later, and they're based ultimately on Paul's work, because Mark's Gospel is based on Paul's work. A good portion of it's based on Paul's work. Probably some other oral traditions, or maybe even some other written sources, but we don't know what was in them. So the Gospels can't really help us out because they're not independent testimony about Jesus. The only independent testimony that we have is Paul's testimony, and he only testifies to having visions of Jesus after the fact. And he only talks about other apostles as having visions after the fact. And so if Jesus did exist on earth prior to that point, they didn't care about it. It did not factor into their faith. The only thing that mattered was that Jesus resurrected. That's what provides salvation for everybody. So that's the only thing that they cared about. It's also really the only thing that the earliest Christians cared about too. Like the early Christian church fathers. They didn't care about any kind of natural birth or anything like that. They just cared about Jesus' salvation. What was the message that they were bringing? Justin Martyr had a very listen and believe kind of attitude towards the Gospels. He listened to the Gospels, heard Jesus' message, really liked it, and so he became a Christian. And so the only evidence that we have that could give us kind of anything about Jesus says that he only appeared in visions and hallucinations. So, and in the scriptures, he was in the scriptures too. Let's see, none. And the mythicist answer to this is the notion that was later on treated as a heresy by the Orthodox Church. I guess meaning that Jesus was purely like celestial. I think they're talking about the Docetists here. It was later treated that way, but I mean, I think that's because people started to be more concerned with the historical veracity of Christianity rather than the message of Christianity. And so that's why they started making up, this shit. The Gospels weren't an attempt to place Jesus in history necessarily. They were public stories that were told about Jesus, and then there were private stories that were told on the inner circle. Once you're inducted into this mystery cult of Christianity, you were told these mysteries that were behind it. You see this littered throughout the Gospels. So I personally don't even think that the earliest Christians thought that Jesus was all that historical, or at least maybe they just didn't really care about whether or not he was historical. They just cared about what the religion taught about their afterlife. Of course, there is no evidence for that, while there are many, and I mean many, texts from the heresiologists like Tertullian and Justin Martyr describing heresies that existed at the time. Some of them, yeah. We even have Celsus reply, or Origen replying to Celsus. So, I mean, we do have some of those things, but to suggest that that's the entirety of the catalog of heresies that existed, that's just a leap that I can't make. I feel like there probably were a lot more heresies going around. We know of so many different versions of Jesus from like the Nag Hammadi library. So it amazes me that people think that we know everything about Jewish culture in the first century, because we just simply don't. All right, well, that's it for the comments, and we spent a good bit of time on the fucking comments tonight because, I'm verbose and shit. Anyways, I'm going to go get Brocephus. I hope you guys are ready to learn some shit.
Shitty ass science! We're gonna answer some science shit really wrong.
I gave for this. I hope it's good.
What?
Yeah.
I've never known you to not drink.
I am not drinking so that I can provide y'all with the best scientific explanation for whatever bullshit you guys have pulled up for me.
Oh, this is crazy. I don't know about this. I think there's another cat.
Well, fuck me. Oh, all right. What? What's up, heathens? Y'all are going to hell later. Anyways, I'm Brocephus, and I'm here to tell y'all whatever in the fuck this is. And I have to say, this is probably the cutest abomination of fucking God that I've ever seen. Holy shit. This is an 8-legged, floofy cat spider. Okay, now what happens here is that this cat was bitten by a radioactive spider. And y'all know that arc in Spider-Man where he turns into like man spider? Yeah, this is exactly what happened to this poor cat. It was bitten by a radioactive spider that was injected with some gene hormone therapy, GMO shit from the vaccines. And shit, now this is going to get taken down. The spider was injected with the GMO gene duplication, replication, editing software, and then it went all fucky, and then it bit this cat, right? Because the cat was fucking with it. It was like, skippity pap, skip pap pap, skippity, skippity, skippity pap, and then the spider went, ah, bitch. And then the cat was like, and then it grew more arms. And now it's this. It's got 8 legs and arms. There's 4 on each side, and they could already crawl up walls. So I don't know what kind of thing they're gaining here, other than now they've got like 4 paws on their front that they can go skippity pap 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 bitch, and smack you across the face with it. This would be kind of crazy getting up in the middle of the night and seeing this little motherfucker in the corner, though, right? It's like they're up in the corner. It's like, and it's like, God damn it, spider cat, get the fuck down. So, hold on. Spider cat can do whatever the fuck a spider cat can do. Crawling up the fucking walls, knocking shit off every table because they're all assholes. Made that up on the fly. I am a wordsmith that cannot be rivaled. I'm telling you. Anyways, whew. All right. So beware of genetically modified spiders biting your kitty cats, turning them into spider cats. And I guess I will see you heathens later. Don't forget to go to hell or some kind of shit like that. Anyways, I got to get the fuck out of here and figure out what in the fuck GE has got me doing. Bye, y'all. You know, Brocephus, I would love a spider cat. Don't you even fucking joke, okay? That thing is scary as shit. We already don't like cats around here because they knock shit off, they piss off KC, and they're just scary as fuck. Don't get it. Can we get a spider cat? No. You don't want like an 8-legged cat walking around here? No. Can you imagine what comes out of its asshole?
Why would I imagine that?
Can you imagine scaring the cat and it goes and it spurts out like webbing from its like asshole or something? They already like to show their asshole off. It's like, look at my asshole. And they right in your face. I'm telling you. Caden says, I approve of Spider Cat. You have my permission to get one. You're pretty sure what? It's just more cats. Yeah, I mean, I think that it is just more cats that are behind it, but I'm kind of curious what's going on underneath that curtain there. KC said ass fucking. That's gotta hurt with them spiky dicks they got. Yep. Anyways, Cernian said asshole webs. Anyways, all right. So, are y'all ready to get to the video tonight? I know I am. I've got my Sonic Peach Rings thing here.
We got a new member.
Got a new member. I can't believe Brocephus actually prompted somebody to like subscribe. Because I can just see Andrew tuning in and being like, oh, this motherfucker's making a good case for getting a spider cat. Subscribe. Have my money, sir. Anyways, I don't know if y'all have noticed tonight, but my camera has not flickered one bit.
Oh, Jesus. Why?
Huh?
Why'd you say it?
Because I got a new cord for the camera and it hasn't flickered since. Because my HDMI thing on that goes to the camera was actually kind of wobbly, so I got a new one. And Andrew says, I have actually been watching for a while. Love your stream. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you. I just imagine somebody tuning in, seeing the Brocephus thing and being like, well, fuck this channel. It's got a hillbilly that thinks the spider cat's real. Yeah, because I said something about VACCINES. Yeah, I know. I had to stop a little bit there for a second. Think about it. Huh? It's because I haven't been drinking tonight. Yeah, that's right. Anyways. All right, let's get to the video. Oh, yeah. Wrong thing there, GE. Hold on. There we go. I hit the wrong screen. You love my hat there, hon? Yes. Yeah. All right. So my hat is pretty much my reaction to this video. Are we done? Okay. Anyways, so this guy right here, he's got a story for us, where he was an atheist and then he became Christian, and so now he's going to be telling us exactly why he's a Christian. And so that's what the video is about. So this is what I'm really looking for out of this video that we're watching is why did he become a Christian? Like, did he become a Christian for a good reason? Was there a compelling argument that made him, that persuaded him towards Christianity? Or was it just some kind of purely emotional thing that, tugged on his heartstrings? Was that the thing? Because, I mean, I've been there. I've been in that position where I've thought that I felt the Holy Spirit come deep inside my body. And I felt it move in there too, wiggling and shit. And I felt it. And I thought that it was God, but, come to find out that you have the same kind of reaction, in other situations. Like you can have the same kind of reaction to the birth of a baby. You could have the same kind of reaction at a good concert. Huh? You have a guess? Mm-hmm. Okay. What? He converted for the snacks?
Yeah, you see hungrygen.com. He was just hungry and he went and saw some crackers and grape juice.
Well, this is from a YouTube channel called The Hungry Generation. Yeah. And I don't know what that means because every generation's hungry. Every generation's needed food. In fact, I would say that the hungriest generation was probably around 1929. Rude? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not wrong. Jonathan Hanachek said, oh shit, you actually did what I asked and you're going to do a sober stream. Oh, yeah, I didn't know that you asked that there, Jonathan. I mean, I've done plenty of streams sober. Everybody thinks I'm always fucking drunk. That's right. All right. So here's this guy. He's going to introduce himself and everything like that. So let's get to his story. Wait, we got a super chat that just came in. it says, "Come to the dark side. We have cookies." Casey's cookies are delicious.
Just a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Victor Saikowski, and I was born in Belarus, and from a very young age, my biological father divorced my mom, and since my very early childhood, I was raised up without a father. And on top of that, my mother was constantly moving from city to city for better job opportunities, so I ended up alone without really much friends throughout my whole childhood. And growing up, I was truly just kind of growing up by myself, and in my childhood as well, I became an atheist. I adopted a worldview of atheism, and I truly believe that there's no such thing as God.
Apparently there's the audio's buzzing. Hold on one second, everybody.
It actually became to me almost as a sport to argue.
Oh, okay. I hear. Well, I mean, at least I hear it now. Let me try shutting it down and starting it back up. Turn it off and turn it back on. That's right.
Hey, my name is Victor Saikowski. And I was born in Belarus.
I think that at least when I monitor it, it sounds good now. Okay, I'm gonna rely on people to do that. Okay.
Hey, my name is Victor Saikowski, and I was born in Belarus, and from a very young age, my biological father divorced my mom, and since my very early childhood, I was raised up without a father. And on top of that, my mother was constantly moving from city to city for better job opportunities, so I ended up alone without really much friends throughout my whole childhood. And growing up, I was truly just kind of growing up by myself, and in my childhood as well, I became an atheist. I adopted a worldview of atheism, and I truly believe that there's no such thing as God. It actually became to me.
Sorry. Well, I'm gonna have to backtrack just a little bit here. So already I could tell, like, he grew up without a father, which apparently affected him greatly. And he developed, and this is the first point that I kind of have to call bullshit a little bit, but maybe for a different reason than most people are thinking. When he says that he adopted an atheist worldview. Atheism is not a worldview. And I noticed that with these conversion stories, because I've reviewed a number of these conversion stories, and what I've noticed is that after converting to Christianity, they always have this very skewed view of what they believed, like, prior to that. Like, it's almost like as soon as they become Christian, it's like they reform how they saw themselves as an atheist. And so I don't know if he thinks that atheism was a worldview, like when he actually was an atheist. But atheism is not a worldview. It's just a single position. Adopting an atheist worldview is kind of like one of those sort of whistles where I feel like somebody's bullshitting me about something. But in any case, I'm not one to doubt, like, the idea that somebody was an atheist. If they say they were an atheist, I'm more than likely going to believe them, unless, it's one of the people on Ray Comfort's show, because I don't believe any of the people that he brings on to Ray Comfort's show. I mean, it's not necessarily that I think that they are lying, but I think that Ray Comfort dishonestly edits, because we've caught him doing that several times. So Anyways, he was an atheist and everything, and so he's going to continue his story.
It actually became to me almost as a sport to argue Christians and to deceive Christians out of their belief into Jesus.
This is the next point that I got to call bullshit about something, because I have not met personally any atheist that thinks it's sporty to deceive Christians out of their faith. Maybe it's just the crowd that I hang around with, because I hang around with some pretty cool people, in my opinion. But none of us want to. None of us have the motivation to deconvert Christians. Like, if that happens, great. I'm glad that I affected your life in that way. If it doesn't happen, I ultimately have the same response. Like, okay, well, I mean, I'm glad that you listened to me. Like, I'm grateful for people considering the shit that I'm saying. And I instantly doubt anybody that says they were an atheist and now that they're a Christian, and their goal as an atheist was to deceive people out of Christianity. Like, that's another one of those phrases that I feel is kind of indicative of like a bullshit kind of representation of his atheist self. Maybe he was that way, but I kind of feel like at most you could say is that maybe he was an asshole as an atheist. Right. Right. It has nothing to do with atheism. It's all because you're an asshole.
Because I was so radical for atheism. I was so radically believing in atheism and there's no such thing as God.
Hold on. I've got to find something really quick. Hey guys, I'm radical for atheism. Wingardium Levy, fuck your faith, yeah. You know, I get that there are some people out there that are quote unquote radical atheists or something like that. But I mean, still,
Not radical atheists.
no.
Radical for atheism.
Radical for atheism. Thank you for correcting me there, honey. Radical for atheism. I just meant that there are people out there in the community that are essentially assholes. But again, this is more about the fact that people are assholes rather than, you know, being an atheist. Because you could be an asshole and be a Christian, and therefore you're a radical Christian. There are far more of those than there are atheists. But still, I think that this goes back to maybe this guy was just a little shit when he was an atheist. And he was one of those cringy fucking, you know, guys that was like, oh, you believe in God? Fuck this. I'm getting my skateboard and out of here. I'm not trying to shit on skateboarding. I mean, I skateboarded when I was younger and had better knees. Maybe I'm just a dick? Oh, him. Okay. Well, and so Jester in the comments there says, I mean, I'm an asshole. There's a difference in being this kind of asshole and then just being an asshole in other ways. There's multiple ways in which you could be an asshole. And I you know, I don't know anybody that's an asshole in the way that this guy's describing. But maybe I just don't know you people that well.
And as I was growing up older, my mom actually got married again, and now this time it was my stepfather and my mom, and they were both abusing alcohol, and there was also drug abuse in my family. And at the age of around 15, my mom got divorced again, and this time me, my mom, and my sister, we moved to the United States of America. And here in America, our life was very challenging. You know, my mom trying to provide for our family, working two shifts just to provide for my family. And then sometime our stepfather actually moved here to United States as well, and he reached out to us saying that he got saved, that he now is a changed man, he no longer does drugs and consume alcohol, which we found very hard to believe. You know, me being atheist, I rejected that idea of church right away, and I thought,
well, I mean, so I like how he's like, me being an atheist, I rejected that idea of church. I mean, there are plenty of programs out there that are very religiously based. Now, I don't agree with them. I don't like what they do, like as far as the way that those programs are structured to get you to overcome your addiction. I don't necessarily like it, but that doesn't mean that it won't work for somebody. And so that's why I'm not too keen on shitting on people that need God to get sober or anything like that. I mean, if that's what you need to get sober, more power to you. I just hope that you actually give more credit to yourself than you give to like God. But typically in those situations, you have people that are giving credit to God rather than to themselves for getting clean and sober. So, you know, that would be my only problem with that. I ultimately don't care if somebody starts going to church, becomes a Christian, whatever in the fuck. Like, you know, he says that he's, you know, immediately skeptical of that. I think that given the fact that I don't know anything about, you know, his family situation or anything like that, he could have been skeptical of him for multiple different reasons, not just the church thing. But it's very telling to see him recite this history of his life and put so much focus on the fact that he was an atheist. When, at least in my experience, like I don't have a lot of things in my life that sort of I look at them through an atheist lens, you know? Like, I get it that Christians are taught to sort of see the entire world through this Christian lens, but at least for me, that's not how atheism works. Like, I'm an atheist, and that's just a fact about myself. Like, I don't believe in God. So fuck what? And you know, then I go about my day. Like, I don't actually like view the world through an atheist lens. So like if someone's like, oh, I got sober through, you know, this religious AA course or something like that, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I'm glad you got sober. You know, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, a church helped you, did you say? Okay, yeah, I don't believe you, but all right. Like, I guess I don't view it through that kind of lens initially. Now is like, there are certain organizations that I'm skeptical of in general, like Mormons, the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Church, the Catholic Church, I'm skeptical of and everything like that. But I mean, those are specific instances of churches, and that's more because of their organization rather than, you know, what they actually believe. I mean, people believe crazy shit all the time, and you know, they're perfectly fine. And so it's just, it amazes me how much of an atheist like lens he views his past from.
That man is as a liar. He did not change. But either way, as the time went by, my family slowly got reunited again, and my mom remarried a man again, my stepfather, and slowly but surely, my family started coming to church. But me, myself, I still wasn't a solid believer. I was deep in my pride, believing that there is no such thing as God, and really married to the idea of atheism.
You see, again, all of this language right here, it plays into the fact that, you know, as a Christian, he's reforming his past self, like his past thoughts and behavior, into more of this very Christian-centered worldview. Because, I mean, I've heard it from multiple Christians that like, oh, atheists just don't want to believe in God. They're married to this idea of atheism. They just don't want God to be real. And this kind of stuff. So, I mean, he's definitely, I have to say that I'm skeptical about his conclusions about his previous beliefs, like not believing in God. Like, he's obviously looking at it through a Christian lens that is telling him that atheists are dogmatically adhering to this idea that God doesn't exist, right? When that's far from the truth.
And as the time went by, I became a halfway in, halfway out believer. I was a certain person during Sunday service, but a certain person outside of Sunday service, a completely different person.
I mean, that's just being religious in America right there. I mean, I don't know about you there, Hun, but, you know, I believe, you know, at least in my family and in this area, Catholics are known for, you know, partying all week or being shitty the entire week until they get to Sunday where, you know, they're on their knees praying and they're all like very religious. They're shitty all week. You have that experience too?
No, I said I don't know that they're shitty all week. They just sin all week.
They sin all week. Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. They sin all week. Like what some apologists now are calling practical atheists, right? And that's when you believe in God, but you don't adhere strictly to the doctrine of Christianity in that it affects your behavior. Like, you know, you believe in God, you pray to Jesus and all this other stuff, but you still say fuck, you know, that kind of thing. And so that's what most apologists now call practical atheism. And so you can definitely tell that this guy is viewing his past self, you know, even in this transition time, as being practically an atheist. But I mean, you know, if you're acting one way in the church and then acting a completely different way outside of the church, that really does seem like you're kind of battling with two ideas there, some cognitive dissonance. How are you going to resolve that? I don't know. Let's see.
But 2 years ago, something radical happened to me.
Like thunder and lightning, Thor showed up. That's what happened. He's going to be like, Thor showed up and I am now a Norse pagan. Thank you so much. We bamboozled you. That
would make more sense, to be honest.
Would it be?
I had a supernatural encounter with God, with Holy Spirit.
Oh shit, what happened? Let's see, can we guess what happened? Let's see if we can guess. Let's see, he was walking to his car, and then all of a sudden, Jesus appeared out of the sky. I was like, oh, why are you a fuckhead? And then he rose back up into heaven, and he's like, oh my God, I'm like Paul on the road to Damascus. Is that the supernatural experience? What else could be a supernatural experience that would persuade you that God exists? He is. I'm trying to predict what it might be. Like what? Maybe he was walking somewhere. He was out doing something, and he was struck by God. Vanta
says Thor has a hammer, and you know what happened to Jesus.
Thor. Vanta Blue said Thor has a hammer, and you lot know what happened to Jesus. Yeah, we do. All right, let's hear what happened.
And on that night, as I was going through the prayer, getting prayed over, I just collapsed from my legs, and I was on the floor for 3-4 hours just encountering God. And God never, at that moment, seemed more real to me than ever before. At that moment, I believe is when God completely delivered me, completely set me free and transformed me from inside out. At that moment.
Okay, I gotta stop him in the middle of this. So let me get this straight. He was in church and he was praying. Not only that, he was being prayed over. And he fell out on the floor for 3 to 4 hours. He was on the floor.
They should have gotten him some medical attention.
You think? He was experiencing Jesus. He was on the floor for 3 to 4 hours experiencing God. Now, I do have to say that when I was a Christian, I had a friend take me to a church one time. And at one point during the church service, They were like, if anybody has a prayer that you want to pray at the front, raise your hand. Or no, they didn't say that. They were like, if there's anybody that has a prayer that wants to be said, raise your hand. I'm like, yeah, sure, because I was a kid. I was going through some shit at the time. I raised my hand. And then they're like, all right, all of y'all come down to the front. And I'm like, fuck that. And I just sort of stood there like, I didn't raise my hand. I ain't doing nothing. And of course, there were church folk near the front of the stage that was like looking for hands raised. Like, who's raising their hands? That fucker right there, that fucker right there, that fucker right there. And, and so when I put my hand down and I didn't come to the front to be prayed over, one guy was like, I'll see that. And he gathers 4 other people from the front, comes up there and is like, hey man, you raised your hand. Do you need some help? And I'm like, yeah, just, there's some stuff I'm going through and I just, I didn't want to go up there. And he's like, I got you. And he gets these 4 people around me, surrounds me. They all put their hands on me and start praying over me.
Oh, I'd be like, back the fuck up 6 feet.
Well, I didn't want to cause a ruckus or anything. So I was just standing there like, yes, thank you. This really isn't affecting the problems in my life, but okay. And so they started praying over me and everything. And so, no, I didn't fall out. What I felt was anxiety. Okay. That's what I fucking felt. I felt anxiety. Okay. And so I just stood there. I waited for them to stop. And my friend was over there looking at me like, what did you do? And I'm like, I don't know. And so it was really weird. And but that was my experience with being prayed over. Okay. Stranger danger, really. And so I mean they were chanting shit and everything, and I was just like, all right, can this be over now? But anyways, so this guy got prayed over like I got prayed over, and then he falls out for 3 to 4 hours. Nobody tries to help him whatsoever. He could have been having a fucking seizure, and that was the thing that he felt from God. And so, but he says that he experienced God in that 3 to 4 hours, and apparently God radically changed him. Now, I have to say, how did God radically change him? I mean, he just stopped being an asshole to Christians because now he believes in God. Like, he could totally be a Christian and just now be an asshole to atheists. Like, I don't understand this whole radically changing for Jesus, or, believing in Jesus radically changes you. People that believe in Jesus are just as shitty as people that don't. So I that's why I don't understand this whole idea. You can be radically changed, like your behavior is radically changed by a number of events in your life. It doesn't just have to be this like religious moment. People are radically changed by various things in their life that cause them to change their behavior. So this is not special to religion. Maybe it happens more in religion, but that's because they prime you for it during these services. They prime you to think that you're conversing with God or feeling the Holy Spirit fuck you in the ass. Like they prime you for those kinds of thoughts and feelings.
Moment I experienced the presence and the love of the Holy Spirit like I never felt it before.
Deep in there, all the way up to the colon.
And since that day, God broke off so many things from my life. He broke off that doubt and unbelief, and He broke off like a pornography addiction, and He truly changed my heart.
Wait a second.
2 Timothy, what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
We got Daniel M. who says, I can imagine the church leaving morning church, having lunch, coming back for evening service, and that dude is still laying there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I see it. Jester did a member chat saying, puberty radically changed my life. I've never been the same. Right? But did you notice that he slipped it in there? Like, there's been, like, the only thing that he's mentioned so far is, I was an asshole. I was a little shit. But then when he becomes transformed by Jesus and he's a Christian, like he's kicked the doubts that he was having that he didn't really talk about having before because, you know, he was an atheist. So, I mean, he wasn't doubting anything. He just didn't believe. And now he's got a porn addiction that he kicked because of Jesus, because you can't whack off and come when Jesus is watching unless you're into that kind of shit. Not kink shaming or anything. You might like Jesus watching while you come. Who knows? I mean, to each their own, I guess. But for him, you can't whack off and come while Jesus is watching, okay? Only Jesus, you can only jerk off for Jesus. And I mean, that jerking off is more mental and metaphorical rather than physical. I'm going to save that backtrack.
Into what I'm here now today. He changed my mind. And ever since that encounter, my life has been transformed. My life has been changed. Ever since I surrendered my life to God and took that step of faith from being an atheist to believing in God and believing in His power, because that same power and the power of God hit me and completely transformed my life. And now I'm here today at a Hungry Gen Internship. I'm here learning about deliverance. I'm here learning about supernatural, about healing, about the Word of God, and really going deeper into the Word of God.
Are you going deeper into the Word of God? God's getting deeper into him. I mean, I feel like he's getting about as deep into the Bible as it showed. Just like 2 to 3 inches, maybe. I mean, maybe that's all you need. But I don't really think that he's getting all that deep into the Bible. Because, I mean, honestly, for me, in order to disregard God as like some kind of moral foundation or any kind of good explanation for anything in reality, you just have to read a few choice verses from the Old Testament. The part in Numbers 31 where, God commands the Israelites to take young virgin girls as sexual slaves. That's a good one. What about of course, there's the talking serpent in the beginning of the book, how anti-knowledge the very beginning of the book is, how crazy it is that God farted out the universe. That's just all in Genesis. And then you could go on to like talking donkeys and all this other shit. What about how God says that he has warehouses in heaven where he stores different forms of precipitation, and that is what explains why like snow happens and rain happens and all this other stuff. Like, I feel like you have to just be primed to accept supernatural and ridiculous shit in order to believe the shit that's in the Bible. And he talks about how he's like radically changed now. And I mean, how he's radically changed is he's not a little shit, apparently, and he doesn't watch porn. You know, there are plenty of Christians out there that watch porn. And, the South is one of the most religious places in the United States. I mean, I could throw a rock and hit 4 or 5 churches right now, okay, around me. And there are still people like church members, like in the actual church organization, that are being caught for like kiddie porn, and the search histories on Pornhub, like they do the statistic things down here in the South where it's mostly religious. I mean, like Pornhub just has data on how much people search for shit down here, and what they're searching for. And I believe down here in the South, a lot of it is like the interracial porn, which is, I only mention that because of how, 50, 60 years ago, like it was pretty fucking racist down here. That's right, honey. Even Thomas Jefferson was fucking slaves. It's horrible. I'm laughing because it's uncomfortable. But in any case, so he's been radically changed by this. What I take away from this entire experience that he's talking about here is that he was emotionally convinced of the truth of Christianity. There was no real evidence that convinced him. He just had this experience where he was convinced that It was Yahweh or Jesus. And the one thing that I have to ask for people that are convinced by these emotional kind of experiences is, how do you explain other people having the same kinds of experiences for different religions? Like, because Muslims, they also have those kinds of experiences and are convinced of Islam. And you could pick almost any religion, and I'm sure you can find somebody that has some kind of deeply religious experience, and that convinced them of that belief. So how do you differentiate that? Like, how do you determine the differences? How can you tell that one is a true religious experience, but another's bullshit chemistry happening in your brain? I mean, me personally, I think it's all bullshit chemistry that's happening in our brains. The feelings that you have, happiness, sadness, depression, anger, all of that is just chemical reactions going on in your brain, causing your brain chemistry to react in different ways. And so it seems to me like all of this can be explained by just natural brain chemistry. And because of that, it can be triggered by anything. It can be triggered by not believing in a God and just, maybe having a seizure one day and you don't know what it is, but maybe you come up with, oh, fucking God touched me in my frontal lobe. I don't know. But something tells me that he probably needed a doctor or an EMT or something while he was writhing on the ground for 3 and 4 fucking hours.
And I'm excited to see what God is going to be doing in my life. Excited to what God is going to do through me. I'm excited to see deliverances, healings, and supernatural activated in my life through the power of God. I believe that today, the same thing that God did for me, he can do for you as well.
But my point is that if you're looking for these kinds of changes in your life, like if you're an asshole and you don't want to be an asshole, there are different things that you can do to achieve that. Right, like just choose not to be an asshole. That's right, honey. You don't need a supernatural experience to not be an asshole. You don't need a supernatural experience to stop watching porn. Like, you don't need those things. While, some people could find solace in those things, I think it's important to know that that's not the only place that you can find them.
You can take that same unbelief, even though I did not believe in God, even though I cursed God, God still chose me. God still believed in me. God loved me, and God encountered me, even in the midst of all my unbelief, in the midst of me denying him. Denying him is a...
You feel that what? You feel like he just needed a hug. That's what Casey said. He just needed a big old bear hug is what he needed. I don't know. I mean, I kind of forgot what he said.
God, even though I cursed God, God still chose me. God still believed in me. God loved me, and God...
So I hear this all the time with God loved me. God did this for me. God, and talking about how God is so great and all this other shit. And I feel like I've reached a point in looking at the Bible and looking at the literal words and hearing apologists and supposed Christian scholars bullshit me on what's literally in the Bible. I feel like I'm at a point of no return as far as the Christian religion goes. Because when I think of the Christian religion, I don't think of a God that loves his people. I don't think of a omnibenevolent God that's just good to everybody and he wants the best for all of us. That's not what I think about. That's not what I see out of the Bible. What I see out of the Bible is a raging, drunken, alcoholic Yahweh Father God who consistently punishes his chosen people just for simply not doing the things he demands of them. And the things that he demands of them are kind of fucking crazy. Like, I really want to see y'all slaughter a lamb. Yeah. Thousands. I need thousands of lambs to be slaughtered. And listen, you can't just you can't just kill it, right? like shove a knife in its head or something. You've got to
Just a little bit of money.
You got to disembowel this little fuck. And then I want you to burn its entrails to a crisp, to like ashes, so I could smell the sweet flavor. Casey said, you got really close to Flavor Town. Because I hate Guy Fieri.
2 Timothy, what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
Now everybody's going to like, what did Guy Fieri do to you? Doubtful Form said, hold on. So Doubtful Form said, you cursed God? Why? You didn't believe in God. That's a good point right there, Doubtful Form. I never get it when Christians are always talk about how, atheists curse God or atheists hate God or something like that. I don't believe in God. Maybe by curse God, he means saying shit like, God damn it. I don't see a problem with God damn it or anything of that nature. So, of course, yes, that's right. I wouldn't. I feel like this is just another sign, huh? Because I'm a heathen. That's another sign of his Christian bias that he has now as he reflects on his past beliefs and behavior. Then we got Daniel M. that says, I didn't get a comment at the end. I suspect that him being alone, then having a church community converted him. Possibly. I mean, considering that he was alone for a lot of his life, like he didn't, like even his mother had to work a lot and everything like that. Having a community or having a group of people that you could rely on can be kind of persuasive.
And then she was into drugs. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He just needed a hug. Like, how much love was he getting as a child?
Right. How much love was he getting as a child? Maybe that's why he was a little shit. Right.
Counter me, even in the midst of all my unbelief, in the midst of me denying his existence. God loved me and God chose me and God encountered me. So I believe that today God has the same opportunity for you. And it's
That sounds wrong. God encountered me in the alleyway and I don't want to talk about it. He encountered me. He what? He wrestled me like Jacob and then renamed him Israel. That's the kind of encounter I had with God.
My name used to be Bob.
that you find yourself in a position where you don't believe in God, or you find yourself in a position where you're struggling with addictions, or your family's struggling with addictions, or you find it hard to believe that there's such thing as God. I want to encourage you to today make that step and believe that there is God, that He's pursuing you today. As you're watching this right now, God is with you, God sees you, and God is pursuing your heart today.
I just want to say that this is not the way to convert somebody that's skeptical of your religion. Because all he's essentially saying is that, listen, I was like you, and then I decided to not be like me, and I decided to be like them. And so now you have the opportunity too to not be like you are. And so you need to be like me because I'm a little uncomfortable with people that aren't like me. So why don't you just go ahead and be like me and believe the things that I do? Like, this is not the way to convert somebody that's skeptical of your religion. Bring me evidence that your God exists. Don't bring me your bullshit experiences. I mean, great, you had that experience, but that's just not going to convince me that your God is the one true God when there's so many other different religions out there and there's no way to discern any of these special religious experiences but between one another. Like, there's nothing unique about any one of them other than they're for different religions. My God is an awesome God, He reigns. Shit from above, He'll fuck you up real good. Don't fuck with my fucking God. It may not be how the song goes, but that's how the song goes now.
And I want to invite you to repeat this prayer with me and to invite God in your life, because I believe that He will truly change your life. He will truly change the course of your life forever, for eternity. And today He can grant you the gift of everlasting life. He can deliver you and He can set you free. So just repeat this after me.
I'm sorry. He's about to say a prayer. I'll have this linked in the description, after the show tonight. If you want to hear the prayer, that's fine. I'm not about to placate the whole prayer thing. And so I don't know when it stops, but we're going to try to find it stopped. I don't know. I don't like the whole idea of praying and thinking that it magically solves problems. I don't like that idea. I'm not shitting on people necessarily that think that. I'm just saying that I would prefer not to have it right now.
Start reading scriptures every day. Start in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, into the Word of God. Start reading scripture. Amen. Hey, and if you prayed this prayer, I want to encourage you, get plugged in into the Word of God. Start reading scripture. Start reading scriptures every day. Start in the Gospels.
Notice here how he's encouraging people to read the Bible, but he doesn't start with read the Bible starting in Genesis, because if you start in Genesis, you're not going to get through all the begats, right? You're not going to get through that, okay? He says start with the Gospels. Oh yes, start with the end of the story so that you can just know the good parts about it. Oh, in fact, read the fucking Cliff Notes. Jesus was a good guy. He saved a whore once, and then they crucified him, and now you can go to heaven if you just suck his dick. The end. Like, there you go. Cliff's Notes Christianity 101 right there. It's getting clipped. Craig Reed would not approve. Maybe I should put that on Twitter and tag him.
Matthew, Mark, John, and Luke. Start reading the Bible. Start reading the Word of God. Start praying and seek to be connected to church. Connect to maybe even a Hungry Gen online. Start coming to church and start going after God, and He will show you. He will reveal to you all His glory, all what He has for you. Seek God. He
will show you His glory. God in His trench coat, like, you want to see my glory? Anyways, so what I'm hearing from him as far as like committing yourself to God, if you're an atheist, because that's who he's speaking to. He's speaking to people that have questions or are an atheist, right? They think that God doesn't exist. I feel what he's advocating for right now is he's advocating for people to read the Bible, and even if you don't believe, to pray to God and to basically indoctrinate yourself into the faith. And God will radically change your life. You have to first believe in God in order for Him to radically change your life. So in order to get the goods, you've got to go ahead and believe the bullshit. And I feel like that's a pretty dubious way to convert somebody to your faith. I feel like if your faith is really representative of reality, if it's true, then we should be able to test for that. You should be able to give me evidence that would convince anybody that your God is real. We don't have that, of course. All we have are these bullshit emotional experiences that apparently persuade us that God is real.
He will encounter you. He will show you all His glory, all that He has for you, for your life. He will.
Here's God's glory right here.
Truly transform you, and I believe the same thing He did for me, He will do in your life also. He will deliver you, He will heal you, and that same power is available to you here today.
But you see, the problem that I have with those statements right there at the end are, is that God's not actually doing any of that. Like, God is not the one that's doing that. If you become religious and you overcome your addictions, or you stop being an asshole or something like that, that's you that's doing that. I get that you believe in God and you think that that's what God wants for your life, or you think that God is telling you not to be a little shit. But ultimately it is you that's doing it. Like, God is not talking to you. As far as that we can tell, God doesn't talk to people. Now, obviously I can't know that for 100% absolutely certain. But of all the cases of God supposedly talking to people, we've not been able to verify it. So, it seems to me like it's more likely, because it's natural explanation, it's more likely that you yourself are deciding to overcome these things and are actually accomplishing these things. So you need to give yourself credit instead of giving credit to God. Like, oh, I couldn't have done this without God. Yes, you could have. In fact, you could have done it without God, and you did do it without God. Because God wasn't actually doing anything. You were doing all the work. Now, it would be a different story if, like, you walked out of work one day and, naked Jesus descended from the heavens, slapped you with his dick, and then you were cured of cancer or something like that. And that was like something that people could like record, the dick slapping of Jesus curing cancer. I mean, honestly, that's not all that weird considering what's in the Bible. I mean, he spit in a dude's eye and rubbed dirt in it to cure blindness. And then he basically yelled out to unplug some dude's ears and allow him to hear again. And then he licked some dude's tongue in order for him to be able to speak instead of being mute. And so, I mean, I think dick slapping somebody in the face is not really out of the realm of possibility for Jesus descending from heaven in order to cure cancer. I mean, who knows how Jesus would cure cancer? He might rub some dirt in that too. I don't know. But in any case, I feel like any of these things, people are the ones that have accomplished them. People are the ones that have helped people make it through cancer or stuff like that. So it's not really anything magical or supernatural. It's all natural stuff. Natural explanations, that is. But anyways, that's going to be it. As you can see, the show's over. Or, well, that show's over. And the main part of the show's over, the response part. We are about to go into the Skeptic Mafia comments. If you guys don't know, if you join the Skeptic Mafia, you can leave a comment that I will read on stream. And tonight, we are going to be reading over the comments for the stream, or for the show tonight. Looks like we don't got too many, so we'll be able to get through them hopefully rather pretty quick. Because there really wasn't all that much to this video. But we'll be getting to that. And all in all, for the video, I wasn't convinced by anything. At the end, it kind of seemed like he was trying to convince people to convert to Christianity because, for one thing, he didn't really give a good reason for atheists other than they just don't believe, and that kind of feels wrong to him. So he's encouraging atheists to believe. But on another hand, he's speaking to people who have doubts, and there he doesn't really give any kind of good reasons other than, hey, I got good shit happen to me, so why don't you get good shit happening to you too? Come on over to my side. Yeah, we got crackers and Jesus dick. And, Casey said juice. I said dick. But anyways, so I really wasn't all that convinced. I don't know if you were convinced. If you were or weren't, let me know down below in the comments. I'd really love to hear your thoughts about this guy's video. If you will, make sure you smash that like button if you've made it this far through the stream. And be sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We do this live show every Friday night at 8 p.m. unless there's some kind of special situation out there where we're not going to be here. And make sure you stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens. But don't go, because we got the Skeptic Mafia comments coming. And got to get back over here to the other screen. Sorry, just got to get that ready. Okay, here we go. All right, so here's the Skeptic Mafia comments. If you guys, I definitely implore people to become a Skeptic Mafia member, and you can help us donate to charity, and you also get to shit talk the video that we watch. Also, if you didn't know, you get to pick the video that you watch as well. I put it up a little late today, so not everybody got their input in. But I usually put up a poll where the Skeptic Mafia can pick what video we watch on Friday nights. So definitely keep that in mind. So first up, we got Drew's Book Reviews, who says, "I've not watched this video, but don't want to. Lol. So as usual, just leave my comments based on the title alone. How about this one? Theist turns to atheist after realizing that everything he has been taught is a lie." That story has been told so many times, and I would bet happens more often than atheists turning to God. It's far harder to turn to God after leaving religion. I don't know if this guy in the video was ever religious, but I kind of feel like it would be far easier to turn to religion growing up atheist than turning back to religion and becoming atheist after leaving religion, if that makes sense. Anyways, heathens, until next time, keep on reading. Thank you so much there, Drew. Next up is Polly Pockets, who says, "This testimony reminds me of myself as a Christian. Obviously, I believe in Hera now, but it was a journey." Just kidding. Anyway, I also don't have a strong father. I didn't have a strong father figure growing up, and my mom worked her butt off to provide for us. Through the roller coaster of changes throughout my childhood and early adulthood, I clung to a God because I didn't have a lot of people to turn to. So I understand where this dude is coming from. I have uttered some of the same words myself as a Christian. When life is hard, you hope for something bigger than you to make it all okay. I know the higher power isn't there to make it better, but I know we can rely on each other. Speaking of which, if you want some of that good community loving, join the Skeptic Mafia. Mafioso for life. I don't know like a good gang sign to put up for that. I also don't want to get shot. But Polly Pockets, yeah, I mean, like I said, I have a lot of similar situations that this guy talked about, like in my experience growing up. It is kind of weird. It's weird to see like a very Christian perspective of an atheist past, and to be able to identify with a lot of the things that were happening to him, but at the same time, with my point of view now, it makes it a little weird for me. But yeah, I totally got where he was coming from too. Next up is Jonathan Nickel, who said, "If his parents/step-parents really did have problems, I'm relieved that they worked through them." Me too. Totally glad about it. That's why I was really trying not to shit on any kind of like overcoming of addictions or anything like that. Just wanted to emphasize that you can do that without God. Like you don't need God in order to do those things. There are ways to do that without the need for God. That being said, the video was so loaded with cliche, I'm not sure how much of it to believe. Drink, drugs, porn addiction, all the usual tropes we hear from Christians when they mention their supposed former atheism. He describes his former atheist self as an angry, bitter, resentful individual who would deceive Christians for sport. If he was an atheist at the time, I doubt he would have viewed trying to argue with Christians as a form of deceit. I totally agree with that. Listening to his testimony, his words were drowned out by the ringing alarm bells. As sorry as I am for any part of his story that may be true, I am not convinced that it is genuine. Thank you so much, though, Jonathan. I too found myself doubting good portion of his story, but I think just because of how Christianity causes you to sort of or at least not Christianity necessarily, but how some Christian denominations reframe like non-belief. I feel like that's it can do a number on you. So yeah. Next up is Command Cyborg, who says, "Hello world. Oh no, boys and girls, this is gonna be dumb." I love how my picture comes after that. So apparently you're confused by what being an atheist actually entails. You get hit by a lightning bolt over your head, perhaps just a visual aid, who knows? On that night, as you were going through a prayer and or, slightly unclear, being prayed over, God came and delivered and downloaded the experience like you never known before. But you say you curse God. Atheists kind of don't do that, on behalf of, cursing something that you think doesn't exist. Isn't very coherent. I call no true atheist, and I skipped about 3 minutes of your video, but I wouldn't be surprised if the stepdad who remarried your mama still is a douche, if now a religious type instead of being a drug-induced type. Maybe, who knows. Consider the well-peen. I heard from a bad authority that it's 15 foot long. Smash all the buttons, ring-a-ding-dong, insert a free shilling here. Hey, I don't know if you guys know it, but I'm trying to do it every single month, and that's have a Skeptic Mafia hangout. We did it last weekend. It was great. Had a fun time with everybody. We talked video games for about an hour and a half, and it was awesome. I loved it. So if you want to take part in those kind of conversations, definitely consider becoming a Skeptic Mafia member. That's all, folks. Thank you and good night. World transmission terminated. Now we got Tomato Chan Zoomity, the Zoomington Zoomer. I think that's the same as last week. But anyways, Tomato Chan says, I really don't have time to watch this, so I'm just going to pop in to say hi, which leads me to the ASCII of... Oh, is that just one of the anime girls looking confused? Like, what the fuck's going on here? And if you want to pop in to say hi, go ahead and join the Skeptic Mafia. For only like 5 Mafia bucks, you can have access to vids GE's going to cover ahead of time and other perks like the monthly hangout and other stuff. But you don't have a measly $5 to spare. Go ahead and lick that like button, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, the bell. Hell, go ahead and lick the entire phone. Make sure you get it nice and covered in saliva. Remember, KC is always right, and I'm not a snack. Except KC would tell you, don't lick your phone. Also, clean your phones, you dirty animals. And tomatoes are delicious. I'm sure Tomato Chan's not going to have too good a response to that. Trickster says, I'm going to try something new here without watching the vid. Till I can watch it on the podcast. I guess that this guy is going to say stuff that will make me believe he was never an atheist. I also will guess that his encounter with God cannot have been proven for and is something he felt. As usual, I'll be watching this when I get home. Have fun and see you soon. Thank you, Trickster. I appreciate you. Who's Your Buddy says, this video made me sad. Please don't be too harsh on this young person. Yeah, I mean, I felt a little sad too about his situation and everything. I was, when I called him a little shit or a little asshole, I was just trying to describe his previous behavior. And I felt like the way that he was describing it, I felt like that was pretty accurate. I was putting it in my own words, whereas he would describe himself in different words, but the same vibe. I feel. So I don't think I was too overly harsh or anything. I just, I noticed definitely the Christian bias in his reflection on his past beliefs and behavior. And I felt like that was very, very obvious. Next up is Alex Baranowski, who says, why is Pizza Face emphasizing being raised without a father? I wasn't going to mention anything. He looks like he's making it. The sad music in the background is making this even more cringy. I don't think this is how actual former atheists speak, but whatever. This testimony is just strange. I may sit this one out. I got through 2 minutes of this garbage and was like, nope. Paulie said, damn it, I love the music. Also, being raised without a father sucks. Yeah, I mean, my dad, he was present, but, you know, in certain parts of my life, he was not present. So I definitely know what that feels like too. Jonathan Handachek says, personally, when does Doofus said you should read the Bible? This is where G.E. John should have pumped his own podcast, the Daily Bible Podcast. I didn't actually do that, but I should have, because I did think about it, but I just didn't do it. Because it's one of the best Bible readings out there on the internet that I know of, and become a Skeptic Mafia member here today. It really does help the channel out, and it allows this man to give you great content late tonight. Thank you so much to Jonathan Handshake. Yes, if you don't know, we do have a Bible podcast. We've actually got to get one recorded at some point this weekend sometime. It's going to be kind of a long one, so that's why we didn't get it done last week, and I've been really busy at work this week. But anyways, we have a Bible podcast. The entire Old Testament's on there. Well, most of the Old Testament. We got the story of the Old Testament on there, and we've run through really quickly some of like the laws and everything like that. And then we kind of skipped over Psalms because it's really just all prayers and no real story of the Old Testament. So, you know, the story of the Old Testament's on there, and we're going through the New Testament right now. So definitely check out the Daily Bible Podcast. We have a link in the description if you want to check that out. Then we got Jester Lord of Fools who says, oh, for fuck's sake, I prefer my waffles to be edible. And he goes into the sinner's prayer as if he said something about thought-provoking. Bro, I'm glad it worked for you and your stepdad stopped drinking. Join the Skeptic Mafia and you can continue to enjoy alcohol in moderation even if you have been drunk in the past. Because we will teach you about counseling and how rooting out the source of your alcoholism is better than AA and Yahweh for far away. You'll also get access to these cool stickers and more content. I swear, if you think you've seen the best tomato operators work, you are not seeing enough of the Discord. Apparently, I've been missing some shit on the Discord, which for all the Skeptic Mafia members, there's a surprise on Monday that's going to be in the video, but I've only revealed it to the Skeptic Mafia members in the Discord. So only they know about the super secret surprise for Monday. And I got some really good feedback on it in the chat. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Well, heathens, everybody, mafiosos, whatever. This is the end of the show tonight. I really appreciate everybody joining me. I was not convinced by the video that we responded to, but I do appreciate all of the thoughts from the Skeptic Mafia members that left comments on the video today. Next week, I don't know what video we're doing because the Skeptic Mafia has to pick it. But we will be going over a William Lane Craig video on Monday about how God does not command genocide in the Old Testament. Did you know that, honey? KC said that William Lane Craig is an absolute fucking knob. But we got that, and then later on in the week, if I can get the script written up, we'll be doing some N.T. Wright. He's a New Testament scholar, and he thinks that Christianity is just super like unique and special, and the only way that you can explain the rise of Christianity is magical Jew resurrection. So we'll see why he thinks that. Yes, Mr. Epistovus, low bar bill. It's Monday. Anyways, we're going to see you guys on Monday. I hope you guys have a great weekend and, don't do anything stupid. And I guess I will see you guys then. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.